Hey, what's up guys? Today we're going to be talking about the Canon EOS R5. Let's do it. Hey, so Canon has just announced the Canon EOS R5 a couple days ago. Today we're going to go through and talk about the Canon EOS R5. We're going to quickly go through the specs, and then I'm going to give you my 2 cents on where I think the Canon R5 is going to shine. I'm going to let you guys know who I think should buy it and whether I'm going to get it. Let's do this, guys. So I'm going to go over to the Canon USA website and take a look at the specs quickly with you guys and share some of the major updates from the other cameras compared to the EOS R5. Let's do it. Let's dive in. Let's take a look. So straight off the bat, guys, it's talking about the brand new sensor. It's got 45 megapixels and it's gonna take high image quality, right? So I'm expecting some really good photography out of this camera. So if you're a photographer, I feel like this is gonna be a good camera for you. I don't know if it's worth the money if you're purely a photographer, right? So I feel like a lot of the cost here is going to be in the video, which I'm going to be talking about in a minute. Next is talking about the ISO range. So ISO goes from 100 to 51200 and expandable to 100 and 2400. So the ISO range has been bumped up a little bit from the EOS R. It's got 12 frames per second mechanical and 20 frames electronic silent shutter. That's super fast. I feel like this is going to be really good for sports. It's got dual CMOS AF2, right? So it's got version 2 of the dual pixel CMOS AF. And from what I've seen online, the AF works amazing on animals and people. So it's got like an intelligent AF. I'm gonna link a video to Lok's video. He showcases the AF on animals and on himself, like doing tracking. And I think it did an amazing job. So the AF alone may be worth upgrading to if you're a sports wildlife photographer. Now, the next big thing here is video, right? Video is insane on this camera. There are a few drawbacks which I will touch in a minute, but just looking at the specs alone, it does 8K RAW, 4K up to 120 frames per second, 10-bit 422 with Canon log or HDR-PQ, internal recording in all formats with autofocus. So basically all video formats, it does it in camera and with autofocus, which was a couple of things that the EOS R lacked. So Canon has definitely upgraded the EOS R with this camera with way more video features, and the video people here are gonna be looking at this camera and be like, wow, this looks amazing. So Canon has been listening to the people. They've included IBIS, in-body image stabilization. It says that it can provide up to 8 stops of shake correction. That's kind of insane. I think 8 stops is kind of a lot. We'll have to kind of see some tests and see if that's actually correct or not. I feel like it's probably less than that. It has a star. When combined with certain IS lenses such as the 24-105, or when used with certain non-IS lenses as well. So up to 8 stops with certain lenses and in combination with lens IS. I'm guessing realistically maybe 5-6 stops and then an extra 2 stops with lens IS, I'm guessing is what this kind of means. So it'll be interesting to see how this works. Handheld for photography. I think handheld for photography, this IBIS is going to do amazing, especially if you got some of those older lenses with like the older prime lenses, the 50-1.2, 85-1.4 that doesn't have built-in IS. This is going to enhance those lenses so much. It's going to make your images that much better just because it has that image shake correction. So the one thing that people have demanded from the get-go, from the R launch, is the fact that it only had 1 card slot, right? So now Canon is correcting that by adding in 2 card slots. They've decided to add in a CF Express and an SD memory card. My 2 cents on this is I would prefer them to add the same memory card in 2 times. So either 2 CF Express or 2 SDs. I currently shoot pretty much everything on SD cards right now. So For me, I'm going to be talking about this a little bit later. If I was to get this camera and I want to do 8K video, it's going to be a little bit more expensive than just buying the camera, which I'll touch base with you in a minute. It's got built-in Wi-Fi, so 2.4 and 5G gigahertz. It's got Bluetooth, image Canon service, enhanced operating controls. Right, this is pretty cool. I think it's got the 3 dials, so you can control shutter, ISO, and aperture with all dials, which is cool. And it's got the dial on the front, and these are all programmable. If this is just like the EOS R, these are all programmable, so you can change them to do whatever you want, however you want to do it, which is pretty cool. And impressive durability. So this actually has a magnesium body, which I'm sure it's going to be waterproof and dust. Yeah, there we go. It's water resistant and dust proof, so that's amazing. Kind of just like the 5Ds and the 7Ds. So with all that said, this camera actually does look amazing on paper. It looks like everything that we asked for is in here, alright? So let's go ahead and talk about some of the stuff that's been popping up on the internet, some of the controversial stuff, and some of the stuff that I've been thinking about, why I feel like this might not be the right camera for everybody. Let's do it. Okay guys, so the biggest controversial thing about this brand new camera is the overheating. I'm guessing you have heard about it. I think that every person that talks about cameras have talked about it. So where I stand on the overheating issue, right? It seems like most of the overheating issue happens during 8K video and 4K 120, right? So the higher end videos, and in those situations, I don't particularly shoot a lot of video. The only time I ever shoot like 8K video or even 4K 120 is generally B-roll, right? And during those times, I'm never continuously, I guess that's the word. I never continuously put a camera on a tripod and let it run for like an hour, half an hour of 8K video, even 4K 120, right? It's usually short bursts. It's usually like I grab it, do the clip, and then I stop. So for me personally, the overheating issue might not actually be an issue, right? But where I do, like looking at the sheet that Canon put out, it looks like there is some overheating issue with full frame 4K 30 and the approximate shooting time is 30 minutes. That's kind of an issue because I do weddings and 30 minutes 4K 30. I wonder if they have issues with 4K 24. So this is something that definitely we need to be keep an eye on. I don't know it affects me as much as some of the other people. If you're doing a full interview at 8K 30, that's going to be an issue, right? So you get 20 minutes and then you gotta wait like 10-20 minutes for the thing to cool down, and then you get another like 3 to 8 minutes. So for me, if I was to get this camera, I would not be looking at doing like continuously recording with these high-end video settings. The only time I'll push the 8K 30 and the 4K 120 is if I'm doing B-roll and I'm getting short clips, you know what I mean? So if you gotta consider what type of videographer you are, right? If you're a photographer, the overheating issue doesn't seem like an issue that you're gonna have to face, so you don't even have to worry about it at all. It's mainly towards video. So for me, whenever I'm shooting like a wedding or an interview or anything where I'm continuously recording for a long period of time, I'm generally in 4K 24 frames per second, and it's not on this sheet, so hopefully that's not an issue. So yeah, overheating, I don't think it's gonna affect me that much. I mean, I hate that it's there. I hate that fact that it's in there, but I'm glad that Canon brought this out and told us before they even released the camera, right? So we can look at it and then make our own decision whether we should get it and whether this camera's gonna fit our needs or not. So you gotta definitely think about this before you jump in and buy it. So the next biggest issue I have that affects me with this camera is that right now I'm shooting on SD cards. All my cards are SDs, and if I was to get the R5, I'm definitely going to have to go out and buy the CF Express cards. just so I can get the most out of this camera. And as currently as I'm shooting this, I just logged on to Adorama, and looking at the prices, a 512 gigabyte card is about $600. Okay, $600. And I just finished watching Lok Cheung's video about half an hour ago, and for an 8-minute clip, he used about 76 gigabytes. So that comes out to be about 9 gigabytes for 1 minute of video, right, in 8K. So with a let's bring this up, 512 card divided by 9, I'm gonna get less than an hour of video on a 512 gigabyte card. So when I shoot a wedding, I definitely have at least 2 cameras, right? And if each card only fits 1 hour, I'm gonna need to get at least 2 cards, right, per a camera. And at $600, it's gonna come out to be $2,400 in memory cards that I'm gonna need to buy to just shoot a wedding. And that's like bare minimum, right? I usually have 3 cameras, and I would say I would need at least 3 cards per a camera, right? So if I go 600 times 9, I'm looking at $5,400 in cards, right? That'll give me 9 hours of, well, less than 9 hours of footage. And generally 9 hours of footage, that should be enough, especially with 3 cameras. So I'll get about 3 hours of actual shooting time. So yeah, I'm gonna have to spend like $5,400 on memory cards. That's something that you really need to consider when you get this camera. If you're shooting 8K, definitely. Like if you do a 2-hour interview, you have 2 cameras, you know, just in case one fails, just so you can get a different angle. Do a 2-hour interview, you still need 4 cards. They're still like $2,400. So you definitely need to get memory cards, and they're kind of pricey right now. So I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be a good option for everyone. The next thing is you need to consider is 8K video is definitely computer heavy, right? So if you don't have like a really decked out machine right now, computer, if it's not, you know, if it doesn't have the latest graphic card, if you're not stacked it with RAM, and you don't have a ton of SSD and hard drives in there, it's gonna really struggle to edit video, right? I'm working on a 2018 MacBook Pro, and it's pretty decked out, and even with this Mac, sometimes I struggle with 4K video. So I don't see myself buying a whole new Mac. I'm probably gonna have to get like a Mac Pro, deck that out with maybe like probably need at least like an 8 to 10 grand computer just to process the video at a reasonable speed. So with all that said, I don't know, getting this camera to shoot 8K is kind of beneficial to me at this stage. I think you know where I stand on this. I'm gonna hold off on buying this camera. I think there's quite a few other things that I'm gonna have to upgrade before I go out and buy the R5. I don't see myself shooting in 8K right now. The 4K 120 would absolutely be beautiful. I would love the camera just for that alone, honestly. But then having to buy a CF Express card along with that, I would probably need to get at least 2 of them. I would say 2 512 gigabytes, and then I'm probably looking at $1,200 on just memory cards. So what, 30, 39, 40, 50, 100 on the camera and 2 memory cards, so 5100. That just to get 4K 120. I mean, that's a hard sell right there. You know, that's a big ass. That's a lot of money to drop. So where I am at right now, I am gonna hold off. I'm just gonna keep an eye out. I'm gonna see how other people are editing these files. They may, I want to see, you know, if people are struggling or not on, you know, with what type of machines they're using before I jump in bed. I will probably just rent one out, play with it, test it out, make sure if I can actually edit like 8K videos on my Mac, then I might absolutely get this. and use it as my B-roll camera. And I think this would be a great camera for B-roll just because it has those higher end, you know, high 8K video. It's got 4K 120, and that's where I see myself using it. And yeah, I don't see myself using this as my main A camera. I know that's hard to, I know that's kind of hard to say, you know, like if I'm doing an interview, this isn't gonna be my main camera that I leave recording the whole time. This is gonna be the camera that I'm walking around getting those really cool shots, you know, those creative shots. So this is that camera. This is not the camera you put on tripod and record for 4 hours straight, you know. Anyway, this is it for now, guys. So hopefully I've helped you in your buying decision, either encouraging you to get it or kind of discouraging you to get it. Whichever way you swing, let me know in the comments below. If you do decide to get it, I'm happy that you are. I mean, it does look like a great camera. Like honestly, it does look like a great camera. If it wasn't for the, you know, my budget, and it wasn't for me having to buy a brand new machine just to edit 8K video, if I get this camera, I don't feel like I'm gonna maximize its potential. So that's why I don't think I'm gonna get one right now. That shouldn't be why you shouldn't get one. That's just why I'm not getting one. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next video where I'm going to be talking about the R6 and whether you should get that. Maybe. I might. Let's do it.